Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the CleoCast. My name is Matt.
And I'm RC.
Anyway, we took a unannounced break for Thanksgiving. Probably should have told you guys about that, but we're not great planners over here.
I mean, yeah, it's not like Thanksgiving sneaks up on you, you know.
No.
I mean, it snuck up on us, but
Yeah.
it was on this calendar, and then it arrived, and it's like, oh shoot, I don't really want to record because it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's almost like we know what days we record these on, and doing it a day before a national holiday where I had to travel and you had to do actual family things between you and your fiance. It was just it just wasn't logistically making sense, even though we could have done an episode early in the week, but
I don't know if traveling for Thanksgiving is, and I'm going to say worse as in the worst kind of first world problems of, oh no, I had to hang out with both mine and my fiance's family on the same day. But I don't know what's more stressful, just driving somewhere or just having to balance both those and make sure that nobody gets mad at you for ducking out right after Thanksgiving at 2 p.m.
Okay, if
sorry,
people,
deuces.
if they get mad at you, that's ridiculous.
They never do. I just always feel like they're going to, because it's like, all right, that was a great dinner. Now, bye. I also didn't eat that much because I got to go eat my parents' food now.
I don't know. It could be worse. You could be driving X amount of hours to an undisclosed city to spend the time with people that you can't drive to your parents' house afterwards. And you just kind of have to spend a long weekend hanging out with your partner's family.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually sounded pretty down on them. They're awesome. They rock. It's just
They also listen to this podcast.
yeah, they do. Okay. But it's hard when it's just man, we just can't flip back and forth unless we were driving X amount of hours in between that, and that's not logistically possible either.
Yeah.
So maybe I just need to get a place that can host everyone for Thanksgiving.
I feel like that's the best way to do it, is the Griswold style. Just, now everyone come over here. We're in a centralized location. Because my sister does that, where for Thanksgiving she goes to Ohio, and then for Christmas she just stays here, which seems like a fair split.
Yeah. I don't know, but it's also been pretty similar to that for most of my life, because most of my extended family lives in the New York City area. So there's always been my grandparents, when they were still alive, they'd have a big Thanksgiving, and everyone, all my uncles and aunts would be there, and then we're just kind of chilling in Kansas City and be like, that looks awesome that most of my family is all in one room, and it's just my siblings, my parents, and I
Eating KFC, watching The Simpsons in the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that was happy. This is the Thanksgiving episode, a week after Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, I hope you had a good break. If you were listening to a podcast on a Wednesday before Thanksgiving, what's wrong with you? I didn't listen to a podcast on Wednesday of Thanksgiving.
I did. I had to work a half day, so I was listening to a podcast.
Oh.
I found a new podcast. It's The Space Above Us. I'll plug it. It's cool. He does, if you listen to our space shuttle episodes, he basically does that, but better, because he still releases episodes.
Oh, you mean he didn't stop with this halfway written script, and we've just kept on talking about releasing the episode, and we've never actually worked on the script?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. He's just, they're good stuff. They're good stuff.
Yeah. But on the continuing drama with the Royals and Chiefs, I think you sent me this tweet talking about how the organizations are frustrated with Jackson County.
Yeah. They might not go to Jackson County. They might go to Wyandotte, or maybe even Clay. Probably not Cass County.
Clay County would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Wild card, though, Platte County.
Yeah? I think I saw that in the article.
For those who are not familiar with Kansas City, Jackson County is the county where most of Kansas City is in. Clay County is the county just north of Kansas City, or just north of actual downtown Kansas City, which has North Kansas City, most of the Northland. And Platte County is the county that has the airport. Now on the Kansas side, there's Wyandotte County, which is the place where Sporting Kansas City plays.
It's Kansas City, Kansas.
Kansas City, Kansas is there. Sporting Kansas City plays over there. There's a big outlet mall. There's the Speedway, if you like NASCAR.
It's also where Schlitterbahn, the one that killed the kid, used to be.
Yeah, Verrückt.
Yeah.
Man, I'm excited for the podcast that won't be named episode on that. It's coming down the pike, hopefully sometime soon.
I don't think they're ever going to release it. I think they mentioned it once 2 years ago, and they have zero intention of doing it now.
Man. But, and then right below Wyandotte County is Johnson County, which is just full of suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and then there's...
I think the only counties that financially can potentially fund a stadium are maybe Clay, Jackson, Wyandotte, and Johnson. With Jackson and Johnson obviously being the two most like affluent budgetary wise. So I feel like realistically, like a Clay County option is not really going to happen unless like it's a partnership with Jackson County. Just because that would like nuke their budget if they had to finance that. Because obviously the billionaire owner is not going to actually pay for it out of pocket. You know, the county's going to be fronting most of that. So.
Yeah. But it's wild that this is even like as big of a drama as it is. I mean, if you have billionaire owners, I feel like if you're a billionaire, you should be able to pay for most of your stadium.
But even saying it's like, if the county's paying for the property, why does and this is something I've never gotten just from it making no sense standpoint to me, where it's like Kemper Arena, I think the county owns that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a private whatever. Same with like the T-Mobile Arena. I'm pretty sure the county pretty much owns that. I don't know why when we pay for the majority of something like a Kauffman Stadium, like John Sherman then gets to own that as if he paid for most of it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like what happened with like, I mean, the Jerry Dome down in Arlington, Texas might not be a good example because I think Jerry Jones actually did pay for most of that. But that as an example, you know, the city pays for it.
It's referred to the Jerry Dome for a reason.
Yeah, but that's the point. Is it's just like, okay, you get like billions and billions of dollars, but also the city gets nothing but like some tax revenue out of it. Like they don't get to own that. And it's like if you're going to be taking all these gigantic amounts of money, I feel like the county should just flex that. Well, okay, we're going to own, you know, we get 95% of the ticket revenues or something like that. We're paying for 95% of the stadium, at least until it's paid off. I don't know.
Anyway, that's what we had, 7 minutes of sports and Thanksgiving talk. If this is your first listened episode and you made it this far, congratulations. It's about to get good.
Yeah, because comment, like, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Hit us up on Zillow.com.
Yeah. Find out where we live on Zillow. See how much our homes cost and how much our landlords
They
are
should have
potted
like
for.
they should have like a letterbox but for like those home ownership maps like Zillow, like a letterbox, but you get to leave reviews of houses you've been to. Think about that. Think about that.
I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, you go into a house, you go into a building, and then you get to leave like a Zillow review of like, yeah, this was like just architecturally or whatever. This one is like a 4-star, I think, because you know the walls were painted green.
But okay, speaking of walls painted green, like I would leave that review on your parents' house, and what they would know that was my review because not a lot of people are going in there.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
It's just like, wait, why did a guy like who's named Matt review claiming that this thing is bad in my house?
Wow, we had Friendsgiving the other day, and some guy, Jim left a review of our house the day after, huh? Wow. Just got to think about it.
Anyway, hard transition to what we were going to talk about. We are going to do a breakdown of some Kansas City mob connections. This is from the Mob Museum. This is basically highlighting the mob in pop culture, the Kansas City connection. Film festival highlights mob roles in Las Vegas Skim. This was published December 26, 2018 by Larry Henry, contributing writer. And here we go. In the 1995 movie Casino, the mob's control of skimming at Vegas casinos is exposed when authorities learn about it from surveillance microphones in a Kansas City grocery store. That's not exactly how it happened. In reality, the bug was planted in a dinner table with bench seats in a now demolished Kansas City pizzeria, Villa Capri, hoping to learn about late 1970s warring mob factions in this Missouri city on the Kansas border. Authorities instead uncovered a bombshell. Kansas City's Sevilla crime family illegally controlled the money pipeline originating from inside the Las Vegas Strip's Tropicana Hotel Casino, blaring into the background at the pizzeria. Adding an iconic soundtrack to this underworld setting in a town ripped by targeted mob explosions and shooting deaths was the Bee Gees' disco song Staying Alive. In time, authorities discovered that tens of thousands of dollars in untaxed gambling revenue, the skim unlawfully made its way monthly from Las Vegas casinos to the Sevillas and other mob organizations in the Midwest. As a result, mob operatives from Kansas City, Chicago, and elsewhere were imprisoned and later court convictions. These milestones in mob history took center stage at the 2-day Kansas City Mafia Film Festival over Thanksgiving weekend. Thanksgiving weekend in
connection.
2018.
We planned this out.
Yeah, it's something not like we just Googled this.
Shut up.
In the MTH Theater at Crown Center, featuring a documentary films Gangland Wire by Gary Jenkins, Black Hand Straw Man, The History of Organized Crime in Kansas City by Terrence M. O'Malley, and at the November 28th screening, retired FBI agent William Osley joined filmmakers in a question and answer session before the capacity crowd. The Crown Center is near a historic train station where in June 1933, 4 law enforcement officers were killed in an unsuccessful attempt by Charles Arthur Pretty Boy Floyd and other outlaws to free friend being transported to the Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary in Kansas. The prisoner Frank Jelly Nash, captured in Hot Spring, Arkansas, was also killed at Union Station in what would become known as the Kansas City Massacre. We did Mob Stories number 2 on that one.
There you go. That's the connection.
Yeah, please
also,
go.
It's weird seeing it written out as the Crown Center rather than just Crown Center.
Yeah. Featured on here on this article is a very 70s-looking Kansas City suburban home, which is captioned with Kansas City Mafia boss Nick Sevilla lived in this house in a subdivision once described as the mob neighborhood, courtesy of Larry Henry. I am curious on what their mob neighborhood in Kansas City even is.
It looks like 30 different places I've seen in Lenexa.
Yeah, it looks... It could be the Northland. It could be Leawood. I cannot tell.
Oh, my God. I scrolled down to a picture of Nick Sevilla, and he looks exactly like Junior Soprano from The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. It's almost like they, based it. Anyways.
Yeah. The Depression-era shootout, while important in understanding Kansas City's lawlessness in those days, was only a backdrop, not the focus of the film festival. The city's mob history is what the festival highlighted. As was clear by the event, Villa Capri is not the only place in Kansas City of importance to mob historians. The town has significant mob sites, including a former underworld hangout called The Trap and a residential area once known as the Mob Neighborhood. It was in Kansas City, after all, the notorious Pendergast political machine, entangled with the city's early organized crime figures, controlled public officials while manipulating the election process from the Jackson County Democratic Club on Main Street. Among other things, the corrupt machine also elevated a failed Kansas City haberdasher named Henry Truman to statewide office, paving his way in the mid-1940s to the U.S. presidency. During the early Pendergast era, the police department was under machine control. Kansas City became a heartland's decadent home of jazz-age gambling dens, brothels, and all-night taverns. Pendergast machine leaders and mobsters benefited from the cash flow generated by the unchecked vice. The city's ravenous ways made national news when in 1950, inside the Democratic headquarters, near a giant picture of Truman, 2 local mob figures were slain in a high-profile bloody shooting. This double homicide created a major stir, according to Anthony DiStefano.
I'm just imagining the Citizen Kane, vote Citizen him, but that's the scene I'm picturing in my mind where he's giving the speech in front of the giant picture. Have you ever seen Citizen Kane?
Yes, I've seen Citizen Kane.
Okay, good. I seem to remember that you hadn't for some reason.
Oh, no.
Also, you were looking at me weird.
I was trying to remember the scene in Citizen Kane, and I was visualizing it in my head. Open quote. The outcry over the killings reverberated in Washington, D.C., which had just begun to grapple with the problems of organized crime, end quote, DeStefano writes in 2018 book, Top Hoodlum, Frank Costello, Prime Minister of the Mafia. Soon...
Frank and Abbott Costello? Was Frank Costello in the mob?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know who Frank Costello is.
Or is Abbott Costello a completely different person that was not part of a duo?
Yeah, no, it's a crime boss.
Oh. Is Abbott Costello like his cousin or something? I don't think so. Okay, anyways. Look.
Soon, Senator Estes Kefauver of Democrat of Tennessee launched a congressional investigation into the organized crime with hearings in cities across the country. While Kefauver's anti-crime efforts succeeded in drawing attention to the mob, years passed before Kansas City Mafia family was hobbled, beginning in a part with that June 1978 surveillance audio inside the Villa Capri pizzeria.
It's Abbott and Costello. It's not a guy named Abbott Costello. He does the who's on third bit. So I thought that was important enough to interrupt you, yes.
All right. Another key mafia site from that year is a residence known as the Marlowe House. Located north of downtown across the Missouri River in a quiet neighborhood with weathered wooden privacy fences, a single-story residence that once belonged to Josephine Marlowe, a Sevilla relative. It was there in November 1978 that the Tropicana's Carl Thomas, then respected member of the Las Vegas business community, explained to local mobsters how skimming operations worked inside the Nevada casinos. He even boasted about some of the skimming exploits. Joining him in the Marlowe house that day was another mob insider from the Tropicana, Joseph Agosto. What none of them knew is that the authorities had bugged the home, were recording the profanity-laced explanations that Thomas gave to the Sevilla crime lords in attendance. Among them was Nick Sevilla, head of the organization, who lived nearby in a large corner house with a sloping lawn. The meeting was held in the Marlowe house because Sevilla thought his residence would draw too much law enforcement attention. Sevilla had been in Appalachian, New York for a infamous 1957 mob summit that later was included in Nevada's Black Book, barring him from entering casinos across the state. A transcript of the Marlowe House audio was included in Jenkins' 2016 book, Leaving Vegas, a true story of how FBI wiretaps ended mob domination of Las Vegas casinos. On the audio, Thomas is heard talking about how much money is easily removed from the casinos and how important it is to have a person under your control working on the inside. Open quote, you skim off $40,000 in a week in dollars, then you grab the 40,000 C notes, and nobody knows that, Thomas tells the mobsters. Open quote, the guy that reads the scales is your guy. You got to have your guy reading the scales. I bought one of them myself. The scale cost me $15,000, but my guy reads it, end quote.
I didn't know that, you always hear about the mob owning, Vegas or whatever, and Frank Sinatra was working them or whatever. Didn't realize they were, just doing, this. I thought that it was, they just owned the casinos. I didn't realize that they were just basically, robbing the casinos the entire time. Probably under threat of violence is my guess.
Yeah, also weird that, a house in the Northland was basically where all of this was going down.
I guess that's one area where The Sopranos just kind of has it right, where it's this mob. I've been watching The Sopranos, dear listener, if you wonder why I keep bringing it up. But just some random New Jersey suburban house is running this entire mafia enterprise, and it's looking at the actual history, it seems pretty accurate. It was just some random house in
the Northland
or whatever.
Yeah, I think they mentioned just north of Kansas City.
Yeah.
Thomas, who later regretted talking so much that day, was convicted of skimming but became a government witness in another trial and was released early from prison. Ultimately died in 1993 at the age of 60 in a single-vehicle rollover in Oregon. A decade later, Ostello died of a heart attack at age 61. All the civil leadership at the Marlowe house that day have also died. Over time, the public understanding of Kansas City's role in American organized crime has grown, with offers and filmmakers such as at this recent film festival in 2018 providing detailed insights. Jenkins, an attorney and former detective in the Kansas City Police Department Intelligence Unit, now operates the Gangland Wire website, which includes actual surveillance audio from those days. For the role in helping topple the Sevilla crime family, Jenkins was even mentioned by name in Nicholas Pargetti's 1995 book Casino, Love and Honor in Las Vegas, which was the basis for the Scorsese movie. That is not to say everyone understands Kansas City's importance, or even the location. One day before the film festival began, New York-based Vogue magazine published a general travel guide on its website, which the writer Marley Morris conceded she didn't know where Missouri is.
Dude, I hate New Yorkers. I hate them so much. Oh, the next line is better because she notes that she thought Missouri was, quote, one of those states jammed shoulder to shoulder below the Mason-Dixon line, like Georgia and Alabama. It's like, I guess I get that, I guess, having been to Missouri, but, like, no, you're like a couple 100 miles off there, bud.
I imagine this is more. I imagine the flight path to Kansas City International roughly following that of Raleigh-Durham, she writes, suggesting that I think I had my destination confused with Mississippi. Jeez, did you wrote that down?
Imagine bringing like a swimsuit, going like, yeah, I'm gonna go, drive down to the Gulf while I'm there, and go swimming in the ocean.
Well, like, why'd you write that? You sound like an idiot.
I write for Vogue magazine, and here's me explaining how I don't know where one of the states is that you learn in elementary school because I'm from New York and I'm above that.
Those interested in mafia history are a lot more familiar with the city among this group. There's an expectation that Kansas City will continue to attract interest from historians studying Midwest mob's influence over Las Vegas and the years before corporate control of Las Vegas hotel casinos and a series of criminal convictions that pushed the mob out of the Silver State. For the most part, the mob has been eliminated from Kansas City, as Osley notes in 2011 nonfiction book, Mobsters and Our Myths, the Kansas City Crime Family. The criminal syndicate that had a negative impact on the life of Kansas City ended with the Sevilla era. There are those who sought to perpetuate the organization, but they found the climate and conditions no longer favorable, Worsley writes. The Sevilla power bases, political influence, union influence, monopoly on gambling operations, and others made the outfit what it was, are gone. Osley, a former FBI organized crime squad supervisor in Kansas City, also wrote in 2008's Open City, True Story of a KC Crime Family in 1900-1950. During the heyday before Nick Sevilla's death from cancer in 1983, the Kansas City Mafia was an active fixture in the American criminal scene, as O'Malley notes in Black Hand Straw Man, a 2011 comparison book, and his documentary film. Several years, O'Malley, a Kansas City attorney, appeared on an episode of Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations discussing Kansas City's mob history and Travel Channel's website, where the episode was posted. Kansas City, described as the barbecue capital of the world, O'Malley and Bourdain are filmed inside one of the town's notable barbecue restaurants, BB Lawnside Barbecue.
1 second. I'm going to look. Villa Capri.
That's in Overland Park.
It looks like it's in Overland Park.
Well, no, the old location is in somewhere in Kansas City.
It said that this thing says it's been in Overland Park for over 60 years. The oldest continually operating restaurant in Johnson County was originally inspired by Frank Sinatra's Villa Capri. 1961 Tony's Villa Capri. Is this like the Villa Capri, or is this just another Italian restaurant
named Villa Capri in Overland Park?
That also is in the exact same area.
Well, what was the address of Villa Capri in Overland Park? See if it looks similar in the
81st and Metcalf.
All right, let's go to 81st and Metcalf on the.
Well, okay. It said it's relocating. So where was it previously? 81st, yeah. The original location is at 8126 Floyd Street, which sounds more like it. This is no different than our other KC Mob Stories episode where
where we're just doing Google Maps, even though we still have an article to do.
Villa Capri.
Yeah, that doesn't look like the picture though. So
sure?
it must have been a different Villa Capri.
Are you sure? Because I think that's a Overland Park like streetlight sign, isn't it? On there, that might be different. I will say I have been to this location we're looking at on Google Maps before it got completely redeveloped. So I've probably been past that.
Man, this is weird to go down Metcalf in 2009. All right,
weird. There used to be a Winstead's over there.
Let's finish the article.
We're pretty much done with it.
A single sentence in O'Malley's companion book sums up what the television episode also addressed: Kansas City's mob's former prominence. When asked to speak about the subject of organized crime, O'Malley writes, I often tell audiences, whether Kansas City likes it or not, better or worse, it had one of the best mafias in the United States. And then here's a breakdown of the writer. Larry Henry is a veteran print and broadcast journalist. He served as the press secretary for the Nevada Governor Bill Miller. He's a political editor for the Las Vegas Sun. Managing editor of KSFM TV, a CBS affiliate in northern Arkansas. Harry taught journalism at the Haas Hall Academy in Bentonville, Arkansas, and is now the headmaster at the school's campus in Roder, Arkansas. The Mob in Pop Culture blog appears monthly. This is from the Mob Museum.
Is that the one in D.C.?
No, I think this is the one in... Is this one in D.C. or is this in the one in Las Vegas?
Is there one in Las Vegas?
I think it's in... Well, I'm not going to speak on it, but...
Wow, it is...
Maybe scroll all the way to the bottom and see what the address says in the bottom.
Yeah, Vegas.
Yeah, okay. It's in Vegas. All right, cool. I was too afraid of being wrong.
Why are you afraid of being wrong?
I don't know.
It is impossible to figure out where the location is in a reasonable amount of time for a live recording of a podcast.
Wait, all right. The bullet points are up there. Scroll up. Villa Capri, Independence Avenue, mentioned in our story below.
Independence Avenue? Okay, so it was on Independence Avenue.
Yeah.
And then his son opened one in Overland Park. So the one on Overland Park, which does not exist at all anymore because the area got completely redeveloped. I think it's a Greek restaurant now, actually.
Well, Mr. Euros is down the street, actually. I know the Greek restaurant you're talking about.
There's a Mexican joint right there, too, isn't there?
Well, Miranchito's a bit over.
No, not Miranchito.
It's not Miranchito. It's a different one?
Okay. Okay. Anyways. And then as like a little adjoinder to that, we had
a KCUR article about the 5 little-known historic mob locations in Kansas City by Gina Kaufman, Sevilla, Maria Gross, Matthew Long Middleton. You want to take this one?
I can take this one. So this article is from April 22nd, 2015, so even older.
Yeah.
And it goes, many Kansas Cityans have heard of the Union Station Massacre or the River Quay explosion.
We've done both of those in the past 2 KC Mob episodes. Yeah, give them a listen.
Check those out. 2 of the more infamous episodes in KC's mobster history. But what about the lesser-known mob landmarks? Gary Jenkins, from the previous article, a retired KCMO police officer, created a new app that reveals the history behind all those spots. He talked to Central Standard's Gina Kaufman about Kansas City mob tour. And then it says, here are Jenkins' list of the 5 little-known historic mob locations around town. So you got the Last Chance Saloon, which is located near State Line Road and Southwest Boulevard, where the Quick Trip now stands. They misspelled Quick Trip in the KCUR article.
Yeah.
The Last Chance Saloon was run by a mobster named Golding in the 1950s before there were zoning laws. Half of the club was on the Missouri side, and the other half was on the Kansas side. Legend states that when the cops would show up to the saloon, all the staff and patrons would simply walk over to the other side of the saloon and therefore cross the line, thereby avoiding prosecution. I've heard about this place. I've heard that urban legend before because when I think weed got legalized and gambling got legalized, somebody was saying they should do that kind of setup here. So it's like, when the Kansas cops show up, y'all just walk over with your joints to the Missouri side, and then when the Missouri cops show up, you walk over with your betting tickets to the Kansas side. What are you gonna do? Okay. So next you got the First Ward Democratic Club. It stood at the corner of Truman and Charlotte, which is currently a parking lot. On April 5th, 1950, the 2 Charlies, Charlie Benaggio and his underboss Charles Mad Dog Gargoda left the Last Chance Saloon to meet some mob associates at another mob-run establishment, the First Ward Democratic Club. They told other mobsters that the Last Chance Saloon they would return in a few minutes. They never did. The next morning, employees of the First Ward Democratic Clubs found the bodies of the two Charlies in a pool of blood. Strangely, their bodies were lying below a large poster of smiling Harry Truman. The crime remains unsolved. Okay, that's just from the article, so that one's just a repetition of what we've already covered earlier. So 1423 Baltimore. In the 1950s, the building was home to the downtown Bridge Club. Bridge was not played there. Illegal gambling was. It was a notorious mobster hotspot run by Nick Savella, who would later go on to be a mob boss, who we've also heard about.
Mm-hmm.
So then we got the Coates House Hotel, now Quality Hill Apartments, located on the southeast corner of 10th and Broadway. The Coates House Hotel was a hot spot of mob activities in the 1940s and 50s. There was a convenience store that sold newspapers, tobacco, bubblegum, etc. out of the first floor lobby that was a front for mob activities. We just don't have it like that anymore.
No.
That kind of mixed-use development is just illegal at most. Have your mob front bubblegum stand at the front lobby. You got Talman's Grill, now the popular jazz club The Phoenix, located at 8th and Central. Talman's Grill was the place to eat for mobsters in the 1930s and 40s. It was also where mobsters would get their race results. Okay. And then they have other interesting locations like The Trap or the Northview Social Club at 5th and Troost, which was like a card room for the mob guys. Villa Capri, which we've talked about a lot. That's the pizza place from Casino where they skimming stuff that we talked about for the entire episode pretty much.
Yeah.
The Virginia Inn at the corner of Admiral and Virginia. Building's gone, but that's where three masked men entered the tavern and shot the Spiro brothers. The Park Central apartment at 300 East Armour is where mob boss Johnny Lazia was killed in the 1930s.
Nice.
Thank you, Gina Kaufman, Sylvia Maria Gross, and Matthew Long Middleton for writing this article 8 years ago.
Well, thank you guys. I feel like this is all we have for today. If you want to hear more KC Mob stuff, we can dig deeper. We also need to figure out where that house is from that Mob Connections thing, because I'm really curious on its actual address.
I'm curious. I'm sure it's a parking lot now. But
yeah. But we'll do that on our own time and not on the episode. So this has been another episode of CleoCast. I've been Matt.
And I have been RC.
You can follow us on Twitter at CleoHistory. You can email us at cleohistorypodcast@gmail.com. We're available wherever you get podcasts. If you want to, you can give this a share or a like on Twitter or whatever. That really helps us out with algorithm stuff, and whatever reviews you can give, that'd be awesome. Thank you, and have a great week.
See ya.